So, welcome to Scrapbook Live. Today is Friday, December 6th, and I have a layout today to share with you. It's from the Creative Memories blog. It was just recently shared on the blog. And I hope you have a pencil available. If you've printed out the handout, that's fantastic. So, I have just some modifications that I'm going to use simply because the layout itself, the directions work for the products that are used in the layout. If you want to adapt it to other collections and other tools and so forth, there's a couple of changes that you're going to need if you want it to look like that. So you can see, I'll switch over to my overhead camera so we can take a peek at it. We can see in the layout itself that there's this nice little like kind of wave going on. And I at first thought that that was using the decorative trimmer. And I thought that was kind of funny because they right as Flurry of Fun was coming out, the decorative trimmer was retired and is no longer available from Creative Memories. However, as I was reading the directions, I'm like, they don't use the decorative trimmer. And then I realized that that striped wavy thing you see is a sticker. So what they're able to do is create a regular stripe, multi-colored border, and then they use a sticker along the edge to give it that wave. Well, I am using the What a Zoo collection, and I really want the same wave. I really want that wave detail. I love it. I mean, I love the decorative trimmer. I love that wave. So we're actually going to use the decorative trimmer. So I've made a modification, and what we're going to make, or what I'm going to show you how to make, is how to make a border that mimics the border in the directions here. So if you are using the Flurry of Fun, or you have a sticker that you think you can use along the edge, the top edge, that's great. But they leave it square. It's underneath that sticker is the straight tops of all those rectangles. I'm going to show you how to we'll use the swell edge of the decorative trimmer to mimic that wave. So that's where we're going. And I'm also going to show you how we're going to take it over into a two-page layout. We're going to make two borders because I need a two-page layout because I have pictures of the elephants from the San Diego Zoo, and then I have pictures of the tiger from the San Diego Zoo, and I need a two-page layout for this. So to get started, I'm gonna jump right off the bat and show you guys how to make these borders. So that's the first thing we're going to jump into, which is they talk about step 4. In step 4, they give us the measurements. They actually tell us that we want 8 1.5-inch wide by 2-inch tall rectangles. And then you're with a variety of designer paper, they use 8 different, you can just use how many ever different ones you want. And then you would adhere them across the bottom of the layout. Maybe not clear to the bottom, it looks like you're about 1/2 inch up to the top. You would actually already have your photos on your layout, and then you put the pieces of paper just below the photos. So, and then you use your sticker across the top and it works out great. They're 1.5-inch pieces here, these 1.5-inch pieces, 8 of them will fill up an entire 12-inch length. What they have done is where you see all those white strips or white separation between the papers is adding in a 1/8-inch strip in between each one of those. So if you want either your colors to be right next to each other, so you would have them butted up right next to each other, no space, you could do that. You would cut to 1.5 inches wide. And they would be all tight right next to each other. And then you take thin strips of paper and give them that the grouted look, or that separation between them. That's how the directions are. I want to make a modification to the size because I did not necessarily want to cut all those little pieces of paper. It makes sense with the way that they've created it on here. But because I am building a freestanding border that I'm going to put on a piece of paper, I'm going to cut my strips are all cut to 1 3/8 inches. So not 1.5, 1 3/8. So if you've got your hand out here, go ahead and take a pen, and where they say 1 1/2, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to write in 1 3/8. 1 3/8. That's the size. So 1 3/8. And I want to make 2 borders. So I'm going to double my height from 2 inches to 4 inches. If you need just one border, cut it at 2 inches tall. If you want 2 borders, cut it each piece to 4 inches tall. So all of my pieces here are 1 3/8 by 4 inches. Those are all of my strips. I have 8 strips of paper, 1 3/8 inches wide by 4 inches tall. Now the other thing I need here is I need to cut a piece of cardstock or paper that I can build my border on. It is going to be whatever color is between my pieces of paper. Now the sample I made, I used dark green. When I was putting everything together and kind of dry fitting, I realized I really didn't like the dark green. I want to use hot fudge instead. So I'm going to cut a piece of hot fudge paper to 4 by 12. 4 inches by 12. And that will be what I build, what I put my strips of paper on. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. This border that we're building, these are adaptable. You can use them in any way that you would a border. So it's just kind of a fun technique to just try to do. You can use scraps to create it. So I need 4 inches wide. And it's 12 long. Now I'm going to grab my cutting mat because I need the measurements on this because I'm going to space everything. Got all my strips of paper, got my 4 by 12 inch piece. This is going to make my 2 borders. So I'm going to come down here at the bottom, and then I need to figure out my colors. I've already done that since I've done it once. I just kind of start in the middle, and I kind of think, well, I don't want anything too, I don't want all my darks together. I don't want all my lights together. Here's my multicolored. Let me just show you here what we're doing. So I have kind of the blue on the one side, then I went yellow, peach, and the blue stripe. Next on this other side here, I have the beige and I have the brown. Now my brown is pretty dark here. This is actually the one area where I feel like I'm not sure if I'm going to have to make an adjustment. Because I could come in, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of this lighter brown tonal paper. When I was working with the green, it was fine. But since I'm not working with the green anymore, I need to have a little bit more of a different in brown tones. So I'm going to trim this to 1 3/8. And I'll rotate this and trim it at 4 inches. I just need one piece. That'll make my 2 borders. Yeah, I think I like that. Now, once you have the order in which your pieces go on here and you're comfortable with the spacing or the coloring, I mean, maybe do I want to go this? I don't know. We'll stick with how it was. Now it's time to go ahead and adhere. And we want these all evenly spaced. Our outside pieces are flush with the outside edge of our paper. 6 inches is right down, obviously, in the middle, and it is actually the middle of a space. We have not quite 1/8 of an inch in between each piece. So my suggestion when We want to have relatively even spacing. Because we're going to put our middle pieces on, we'll put our outside pieces on, and then we will work back to the middle. So now I have Kathleen's telling me she wants it the other way. Real quick, we're going to go back to this. So, or maybe this is this way we're thinking we want this, or no, we want it back to this. We'll call this the original way. Do you like the original or the other version? Yeah, and now there's a delay. I have to wait for that information to get to you guys and then see what you guys say. Original. See, one vote for the original. We'll just go with the original. So we're going to stick our pieces in the middle. I do need to leave a little bit of space at 6 inches, and the outside edges will be flush. Let me grab. Oh, I tell you, I messed everything up by trying to look for that silly. Oh, here it is. I wanted to find my silicone mat. I've got repo adhesive. I would recommend using repo adhesive in case you need to do some adjustments. I'm going to use a lot of it just because. Make sure your paper, your backing pieces is your base layer is stuck to or is centered on your cutting mat. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay these on. As I said, I'm going to put the center pieces on first, one on either side of that 6 inches, roughly just a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch between. Now I'm going to come to the outside edge, my outside pieces. I'm going to put those on, and that is going to be flush to that outside edge. Same thing over here, flush to that outside edge. Now it's time to position my middle pieces in between each one of these. When I put these on, I'm not going to give it a lot of pressure. I'm just going to kind of place them lightly. And once I like my spacing, I'll give everything a nice firm press. And that honestly includes both sides. Looks pretty good. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and just give everything a firm pressing down now, get that adhesive on there. Okay, so now I have my 4 by 12 inch piece that is covered with all of my bars of paper. As you can, and you can see this works really well for scraps. This is done with the 8 pieces. You can make these pieces any size. If you want fewer, you'd have bigger pieces. If you want smaller, you'd use smaller pieces. Now what I need to do is to create 2 borders. I'm going to trim this in half, right down the middle. I'm going to use my regular trimmer for that, my 12-inch trimmer. So I'm going to cut it at 2 inches. So now I have 2 borders. And those by themselves, I mean, who doesn't love the border details or the when you can work in all of the different papers that are so pretty with each collection. So now I have 2 borders. This now it's time to make the decision. Do I want to use the decorative trimmer or do I not? If you have a sticker that you like how it is, you could probably cap this off with a sticker. For example, I would be able, here is the the tiger zigzag out of one of the sticker packs. I could come along the top of this and I could just cap it off with my zebra or my tiger sticker. But I really want that swell edge of the decorative trimmer. But that's what they do in the layout itself. They come across with the wavy sticker and they just cap off the top of their basically rectangle border. And that gives you that swell look with the sticker. So if you want to cut this with a decorative trimmer, you obviously need to just use your decorative trimmer. I could use the wave or I could use the swell edge. I am going to use the swell edge. I don't want to have a lot of waves. I want to use the swell. I see Kim has a question asking how much space did you use between the strips? It's roughly about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less. Remember, I cut my pieces to 1 3/8 inches wide. That was the first modification we made. Instead of the layout itself, the directions say 1.5. If you cut them to 1.5, you will have every piece butting next to each other with no space. If you cut them to 1 3/8, you'll be able to get a little bit of space in between each one of them, roughly 1/8 of an inch with that outside pieces flush to the outside edge. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert this into my decorative trimmer. I'm going to insert it so that the body of my border is to the left of my cutting edge of my swell blade. I never know what to call it, the swell edge, the swell blade, the swell guide, the swell. And I just want to cut off the very tip. That's all I want. I do not want to cut. I don't want to be sticking clear out here. I am looking basically to cut off as little as possible. Here we go. Now, before you cut your next piece, I want you to think about how it's going to sit on your layout. Because really, I could cut either side, right? So you need to think, do you want your layout to mirror each other? You can see here I have the blue coming into the green and then starting at the green again going out to the blue. If I cut this top edge, that's how it will work. Now, and that's keeping basically just mirroring the page, coming it over here where I say I have, two pages that are basically identical to each other. I'm going to flip the script a little bit and I am going to do one page upside down compared to the other one. So I'll have a border set at the top and a border set at the bottom. So if I wanted my borders to come across here, but I don't want to repeat, I don't want my greens in the middle, I need to make sure that I flip my border around and I cut this edge. That's what I did for this one. Is you can see I cut it. I made sure that when I cut them that I was cutting along the same edge of both pieces so that they would not, that they would have the alternating pattern going through it. Now this one, because I ultimately, let me move some things out of the way here to set this up to show you guys a little bit better. So it makes sense. I don't want to, I need to be able to show you guys visually what's going on in my head. So the layout calls for a border to be over here. And if I wanted to mimic it, if I wanted to duplicate it, I would create my next border to go over on this page. And I would have two pages that are the exact same. Right? Now, I don't necessarily want that because I don't know. I like them. I'm okay with them mirroring each other, but I would actually like to mirror and flip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another border I want my other border to be like this. So it'll be up here at the top. This is kind of like down here, down here. It's just my preference. So with that in mind, I want this border. This is the border, my other hot edge border that I still need to trim. I need to trim the bottom edge of this piece so that it has the wave or the swell border along the bottom edge because I'm putting it at the top. If I was putting it at the bottom, I would cut this top edge here. But I'm going to cut the bottom so that the swell is along here. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to grab it. I want to make sure I keep track of which one I want to do. Insert it back into my trimmer, and I'm going to slice off that edge. Don't let your decorative trimmer go too far. We're not completely done with it. We're going to use it to create some decorative or some edging. But here you go. You can see how things are starting to take shape. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add my background paper here. I have selected this, has all the animal tracks all over it. It's going to be my background. And I'm going to go ahead and put that down on both pieces of paper. So we kind of start dry fitting this together, and you'll see how we create those pieces. So to a certain extent, I have to admit, I've largely tossed out all the directions in here simply because I don't need to. We're going to visually create something that's very similar, but our process to get there is just going to be a little bit different because of the specific tools and papers and everything. The other part too is they show you here, and it's so cute. Those windows looking outside. My zoo pictures don't really lend themselves to that particular technique, but you might have photos that do. So keep that in mind. If you want that type of direction, it is listed down here. You use a bunch of strips of paper to frame out your pieces of paper and your photos, and they have the directions in there. I got my borders up here at the top and the bottom. I'm starting off about a 1/2 inch from the bottom and a 1/2 inch from the top. I do have photos. I have horizontal photos. The photo placement is very similar. I am where they use three by fours across the top, and two of them are windows. I'm actually going to be using um, just more 3 by 4 photos. And I think actually on one side I'm using a 4 by 6. I've got to maybe cut it down a little bit. So here's those pieces, the photos here that come into play. And then I mentioned I've got some 3 by 4s going across the top, and I have cut some mats. So where they use strips of paper to frame out the pieces, I want you to think the reason they did that was because they wanted to layer those strips of paper on top of the photo and on top of the paper, just like you would your window frames, right? The window frames out if you have molding or finished woodwork all the way around your windows. It has that nice look to it, and to mimic that it's in front of the windows or the photos, you layer those strips of paper on top. I don't need that effect because I'm not trying to go for the window look. I just have regular mats. I think I cut these to 3 3/8 by 4 3/8. I didn't want a narrow 1/8 inch mat. I wanted a little bit wider, so I went with 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and put these on here so they stay in place. And one of the things by doing the dry fitting, I can see about making some adjustments. If I need to raise things up a little bit, I can do so. Over on this side, I mentioned that I have the tiger. So let me see here with the photos. Actually, this photo does not go. It's very similar to this photo, but I like this photo more. So over here, you can see I've got this picture of Cody with the tiger. I love his little smile there. And then a picture of the tiger. And oh, I'm not doing a 4 by 6. I am doing two 3 by 4s and one 4 by 4 in the middle. I have not cut the mat for these, but you can kind of see how that's going to take shape. All right, now one thing I need to do is I want to go ahead. I do want to cap off. I'm going to put a small strip of paper here at the top, a wavy strip across the top of my border, and then I'm going to come in here at the bottom and put another strip. We're going to kind of cap off those pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and use the hot edge to do so. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of my straight pieces. So we'll just go ahead and get that done. I don't want them to be a quarter of an inch. I want them to be about that 3/8 of an inch. A little, no, not 3/8. A little bit less than a quarter of an inch. I don't want quite a quarter of an inch. I want, it's about 3/16, which is going to mimic the edge of my border over here. So I'll go ahead. I'm just shy of the quarter inch. I need 2 pieces per page. And the biggest thing here is you just want them to be equal. You can make them as wide as you want. If a quarter of an inch is easier for you, make them a quarter of an inch. If you like that narrow, you want it to be 1/8 of an inch, go ahead and do 1/8 of an inch. They use in the original layout, they have real narrow. You can see the real thin 1/8 inch strips going all the way around the lower part of the layout to give that real narrow matte look. I just wanted mine to be a little bit chunkier. And we'll get that last one. I need 4 of them total for my 2-page layout. Now what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut. I need 2 narrow strips with my swell edge and my decorative trimmer, one each for the borders. So I'll come in here and I'm going to go ahead and start that swell edge. I'm going to go right down the middle. I always line up things in the middle. Remember, that is 1 square down from the top and 1 square up to the bottom. That's going to have everything nice and centered. Start that swell edge. And I'm just going to push this forward, not all the way to the next square that's in front of it, just a little bit shy of it. And I'll push it up and I'll get myself another one, another piece, the same swell. And this will go on my second page. Now with the last bit of this that I have here, this hot edge, I am going to go ahead and I want to cut my mats that go over here. So I see Kathy's asking what size are the photos. So I have 4x6s here. My horizontal photos are 4x6. My photos across the top here are 3x4s. Over here, I have a 3x4, a 4x4, and a 3x4. For these pictures, I think this is pretty sure that's a 4x4. I was messing around. Yeah, it's 4x4. I want these to have mats that are 3/8 of an inch larger than the size of the photo themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this over. All of my photos have a equal size of 3/8 of an inch or of 4 inches. So I'm going to cut this to 4 3/8 inch wide. Every one of these, at least one side, is 4 inches. So I'm going to come to 4 3/8. Now I might, instead of keeping this square, I might need to shrink it in just because I might start running out of space. But we'll see. 3 3/8. 3 3/8. I need 2 of them that are 3 3/8 to go with my 3x4 photos. The mats, so the photos, the mats are cut to 3/8 of an inch larger on each side than the photo. So if it's a 3x4, you cut it to 3 3/8 by 4 3/8. The 4x4 is going to be a 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. Kim has a good suggestion. I could come down the middle here with a 3/8 or another strip, which I might. Once I get everything in there, that'll be fairly easy to add. I'll go ahead and get kind of the pieces all put into place and see what I think. Over here, I might run into a problem where I'm just going to be a little too wide. I can already start to see that I'm going to be a little too wide here. So I'm going to take this photo. I don't know that I'm going to come all the way down. I might be able to come all the way down to 3/4 or 3x4. I wasn't sure. I was hoping maybe I could leave him at 4x4, but I think I'm going to have to narrow him down a little bit just because it's going to start taking up too much space over here on the bottom edge. So I'm going to go ahead. Maybe I'll take him down. Well, I'm just going to take him down to 3x4. I'll make it work. I won't cut his paws off. He's a little bit wider, and I can see I can cut a little bit more there. I always cut a little bit, like I'm trying to go down to 3x4. I'm going to cut it down a little bit bigger than what I need and then look at it and then make that final trim to make sure I know which side I want to cut from. So I don't know if you guys ever do that, where you just leave it a little bit wider or taller, depending on what you're trimming down. And then you can kind of dial it in a little bit closer, but making sure that I get too close to his paws, am I too close to his head? I want to keep his overall body here centered side to side. So I went ahead, instead of using that 4x4, I went ahead and trimmed it down. So now every photo along the bottom over here and the top over here is 3x4. And then I'll do the same thing with the mat. I'm gonna take it down to 3 3/8 inches wide. Go ahead and we'll adhere all these photos to their mats. Putting all of those thin strips, kind of just laying them on here right now. I'm just doing a dry fit. I'm trying to get an idea of what I think. How do I like my spacing? I'm not sure what I've got for embellishments that I'll play with. This caps off the top here. Okay, because I'm thinking, and I've got it, I'm visualizing it. I bring these all down. Well, except for I was thinking, because I was almost thinking I could come along here and punch animal tracks and I could back it with my hot fudge. So I could have like those animal prints along the bottom and over here along the top. Now the big thing to that is that obviously an elephant doesn't quite have animal tracks that way. The elephant footprints are obviously different. Otherwise, my thought is to just go ahead and bring it down, back down, and then just leave these space as such here. This is the part where I start to hem and haw a little bit, and it's really just very specific to whatever tools and collections you're working with, whatever size your photos are. I have a little bit more space up here because they put in like window ledges and they just took up a little bit more space with how they did the matting, and maybe the detail along the bottom is just a little bit sized differently. So it really is just going to depend. But overall, what we're going for is basically kind of the same effect. Now, I know there was a comment about putting a small piece between. So let me cut a 4-inch piece that could go, I need two 4-inch pieces. They could go between my photos. kind of get to the point with some of this dry fitting that you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, trying to keep all the pieces in place. We'll just put it on there. You guys can get the idea. So Joanne, you're correct. I could come in with the bamboo punch. I could come in, and that's the nice thing about something like the bamboo punch. I could come in there and I could really, layer just something across the top would be two. Now the question is where is, because if I do bamboo, I don't know what I want to do it in. There it is. Here's my bamboo punch. I don't use it a lot. I have it for moments like this. And I'm looking forward to it. I do have some pictures of the panda bears at at the zoo, so I'll be able to do it with that. So let me just punch a strip of the bamboo and we will see what we think, whether or not it's going to be the right. I mean, I don't know that bamboo goes necessarily with tigers or with the. I don't know. I don't know that you get the effect of the bamboo going across the top. I feel, oops, let me bring it down so you guys can see. And it would be across the bottom over on this page. Does it start to just kind of get fizzy? I don't know. I'm really torn on that. Trying to figure, I mean, you kind of feel like this need to fill in the space a little bit. And I do have stickers. Maybe there's a set of stickers that I could use instead. I don't have, yeah, these are all border stickers. I don't know. I have to kind of think about what I want to do. Yeah, I'm gonna save the bamboo punch for the pandas. I think it'll just work out a little bit better. I'm really, really just torn on the part of me likes the idea of the animal prints across animal tracks. I don't know whether I would do it across the top of the page. And maybe just, I think I know what I'm gonna do. I think what I'm gonna do, um, I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do here is I am just gonna go ahead and leave these kind of clustered in the middle here, clustered a little bit more towards the middle. What I'm looking for is giving myself a little bit of a border to go around. And again, at the top here. So let me come bring this down a little bit. And then I'm going to use, my fine tip. I'm going to use my brown, the journaling end of the finer tip of the brown journal pen. And I'm going to do kind of that, you just do kind of like the squiggly line that comes across here and then comes down and does the little hash marks in it. I'm going to do something like that. So it's going to have a little bit of additional detail to pull, just kind of frame things out. And then what that will allow is not anything that's a big distraction. So what I'm going to have to do is just get all of the pieces kind of here put into place. I will stick, I think I'm looking for my general spacing. I'm going to have about 3/4 of an inch top and bottom is I think what I'm going to do. 3/4 of an inch across the bottom, 3/4 of an inch across the top, and I should be able to get 3/4 of an inch on the side. And that will give me even spacing to do that journal, that pen detail all the way around. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I will be able to come in. I have somewhere. I have stickers, all the animal stickers. I do have some letter stickers that I could do. The What a Zoo came with, it had the letter stickers, the animal print. I have a couple different ones. There's some ones that are green. I could try to come in here with some um words, letters if I wanted to. Just because I do like that detail in the original layout. That was, I mean, honestly, it's so cute with putting the BRR, the burr, those were stickers in the sticker pack. But I'm just not sure um, what I want to do. I do have, I don't know. You can see here, they're like, I've got a cute little tiger, and there should be an elephant. I don't think I used the elephant already. No, I didn't. And I do have the elephant. So I'm not sure. They're stickers. They're so hard for me to commit to. I could go ahead if I wanted to put this the little tiger and the elephant on there. I will admit they're kind of cutesy, and I feel like maybe they pull away from the actual animals themselves, especially the tiger. The tiger is so bright and orange compared to a real life tiger who's not quite as brilliantly orange, and I don't want to detract from the animals themselves. So I will probably play with that a little bit, but I am going to go ahead. I'll get everything kind of adhered into place. I'll do that detail work. As I said, I'm going to be using that 3/4 of an inch all the way around, like up here at the top. 3/4 of an inch will be mirrored over on the right page, and I'll have 3/4 of an inch along the bottom and along the top here. And I'll do that pen work there. I am going to do that off camera because I do not want to mess it up on camera. And it does take me a little bit just to get everything all put into place. But I will have that layout to share with you guys a little bit later. So that's kind of where we're going with this one. It's going to take me a little bit. You may notice I didn't leave any room for journaling simply because I've got like a million pages to go with this zoo thing. And I'm really not sure what I would journal here other than we saw the tigers and we saw the elephants. So I would have a little bit, I could find some space in there. I do have, these are 3x4 photos. If I wanted to do a 3x4 peekaboo pocket, I definitely could. I could get into my mats for the What a Zoo collection and see if there's like the half mats that come down to the 3x4s and put that inside of a peekaboo pocket. That would be super cute to do as well. Those kind of details I will just kind of figure out as I'm wrapping it all up. Those are kind of details that I don't always get to before we start Scrapbook Live because I kind of know where I want to go, but I haven't fully made the layout to completion to know that this will work or no, this won't work. And I'll admit, sometimes I don't want to commit yet. I want to hem and haw of it and decide kind of later when I'm off camera and I can think about it. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining. I don't have any big announcements. I should be back next week with another Scrapbook Live. It will probably be the last one for the year. The week after that, Cody's having a procedure done that's going to keep me busy next the Thursday and Friday before Christmas. And then, no offense to you guys, the Friday after Christmas, I'm probably going to be vegging out with some cookies, and then we will see about trying to get going right after the first of the year. That would, I think, be like January 3rd. We might go ahead and dive back in. So I will see hopefully many of you next week for Power Hour. That is on Tuesday. And then I like that, Kim, how she says he has commitment issues. That's it. I have commitment issues with my embellishments sometimes. There's too many possibilities, right? You have like analysis paralysis. I just sometimes get to the point where I get a little overwhelmed by all the possibilities, and I just need time to like see what I want. I want to like test the waters, and do I like you or no? Maybe I like this one instead. And so yes, Power Hour is next week, and then there's the virtual crop. Creative Memories virtual crop will be coming up. Next week is the virtual crop. I'm the way the everything's falling. I'm getting so confused. And then we have the holidays. And then right after the first of the year on January 5th, we will be launching right into our fourth, I think it's our fourth annual Winter Frolic. Tessa and I will be doing that. It's our 8-week scrap challenge. And we just keep you hopping through the first 2 months of the year to get going on your projects. We share new challenges every Monday. We have throwbacks on Thursday, and lots of sharing and lots of inspiration. So it's a great time. The registration for that is available at meganandtessa.com. And that, like I said, I think there's going to be a kickoff crop on the 5th. I got to actually confirm that with Tessa and just make sure that it, yeah, goes up for that. So Winter Frolic will be starting up soon. And then we're into the first of the year. I mean, it's hard to believe. We all have to survive the next few weeks. Take lots of photos. Make sure you are in several of those photos so that you have those to scrapbook, and then start dreaming about what you want to make in 2025, what projects you want to work on, and so forth. So be sure you do guys do take a peek if you have not already at the Creative Memories website. There are some great deals out there right now as part of their Holly. What is their uh, December holiday deals or happy holiday deals promotion. There's some great things, maybe some punches you haven't already gotten, or you can take a peek at some of the discounts on some of the decorative collections. There's some great options, especially like this What a Zoo is discounted right now. You can pick up some of the pieces of the collection for good discounts. All right. So I will see you guys all next week. And then we will take that break until the first of the year. So see you all soon. Hope to see you next week a couple of times. Maybe you'll be sick of me by the time December rolls around. Or Christmas. We're already in December. All right. Take care, guys. I will see you all soon.